everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to this week's edition of Sportsource's Game of the Week. I'm your host, Olivia Sayer, and I will be walking you through this incredible matchup we have on hand tonight, where the 3-1 Jackson County Panthers will travel to Clarke Central to take on the 1-3 Gladiators right here in Athens, Georgia. Now this is the first region matchup for both of these teams, and it's one that Clarke Central has historically owned, winning all 7 of its previous matchups. But this is not the same Clarke Central team. And for more on that, we'll go to reporter Tatum Esparza, who spoke with head coach David Perno earlier this week.
Thanks, Olivia. The Gladiators enter Week 6 coming out of a bye week and a 40-0 loss to North Oconee on August 5th. Coach Perno spoke to me about what this game means for the rest of their season.
Coach, this is your first game of region play going into the season. How does this game set the tone for the rest of your season and for region play as a whole?
Well, it's tricky situation because obviously we know, and our kids know, our players know. I mean, Jackson's probably the favorite now. We were probably the favorite coming into the season, but the injuries and all the setbacks and us not playing very well, Jackson is definitely a heavy favorite. So it's obviously extremely important. And, for us, from a standpoint, it's a kind of a reset moment. It hadn't gone like we had planned. No, really no part of it. And so it's been a fight, but last week we kind of rallied the troops. We've come to the realization that AJ's not coming back. He had surgery last week and it's season ending. So we've kind of had to move some guys around, change some scheme, identify new roles, and our kids have accepted and have worked extremely hard. So I think we'll play close, a lot closer to our identity than we have in these first few weeks. Is it enough to beat a very good Jackson team? I don't know.
And what do you guys think that identity is for your team?
Well, I think we play extremely hard. Defensively, we run to the ball. We are really aggressive. We cover very well. 3 out of the first 4 games, we've been very good not giving up explosive plays. Now we had a couple mishaps against North Oconee. Offensively, we're still searching. What we want to be is a team that moves the ball, but we haven't had a lot of success doing it. So probably before we're going to see identity, I think it'll run through Cy Valente at the running back spot. But we also got to identify a quarterback. Cameron will be the guy this week, and we'll just see how it goes. I kind of not going to do the, move or take them out if something goes wrong. We're probably going to try and hang with them like we did at Cedar. And that one, that game worked out for us. And the other games we've kind of, tried to go with a hot hand and no one's been hot and you get guessing and they're looking over their shoulder and it doesn't help anybody. So I think this is Cam's moment and he needs to take advantage of it.
Perno described this as a tricky situation for Clarke Central. He acknowledged that the team knows it's the underdog, but is ready to battle, and will see how much it can against a talented Jackson County squad. Back to you, Olivia.
Yes, this Jackson County team is certainly talented, and when Sportsource returns, we'll dive into why. See you on the other side. Welcome back to Sportsource. I'm your host, Olivia Sayer, and it's time to learn a little more about the visiting team, Jackson County. The Panthers are winless against Clarke Central, but they have a prime opportunity to change that tonight. And for more on why, let's bring in reporter Cooper Burke, who spoke with head coach Corey Mobbs earlier this week. Cooper?
Thanks, Olivia. Jackson County set a program record with 8 wins last year. Mobbs and the Panthers are focused on riding the hot hand this year after 2 straight wins, and it just so happens to be the 2 in the backfield. Coach, how have Jason Lee and Dylan Maxwell's roles changed over the course of the year, and what do you expect of them going forward?
Yeah, great question. They're both very effective for us running the football. Lately it's been whichever one kind of has the hot hand. When the other one is not touching the ball, the other one is usually blocking for them. So, they're two guys that are unselfish in how they play the game. Both very talented young men, and we have a third, 25, Caleb Clarke, who's also a guy that we feel good with the ball in his hands. So, Jason was a freshman last year and played a lot of ball for us, and Dalen was a sophomore, and they both have grown leaps and bounds from the experience they got last year. So, it depends on tonight who has the hot hand. We trust both of those guys and also Caleb.
Of course. With Clarke Central's secondary depth issues, how are you planning on stretching in the field? Has that factored into your plans offensively at all?
Yeah, I would say that regardless of who's in there for Clarke Central in the secondary, that they're very athletic and have a lot of ability. What we've noticed is they've played a lot of guys, and so from an injury standpoint, I'm sure that there's a lot of that plays into it. But the guys that they bring in, I think, shows the depth that they have in the program. So we've got to be ready for whatever combination they throw at us from a secondary standpoint. We're always going to try to stretch the field in the passing game. We feel like, to be effective on offense, you got to have great balance. And that doesn't mean, it's 50-50 run pass. It might be, whatever that night brings from a balance standpoint. But you got to be able to run the football and then also stretch the field vertical. And we feel like, we've done that at times this year with a senior quarterback. That's something that, you should be able to do. So, Clarke Central presents, certain challenges for us, and we're excited about that challenge.
Yes, of course. How important is your ability to continue to keep contained on the edge, especially with the two quarterbacks that Clarke Central's run, who are pretty good with their legs and extending plays?
Yeah, it's huge, right? It's really huge in every Friday night. If you can keep a cap on it, edge wise, then you got a chance to at least play another down and not give up an explosive. So it's big. Clarke has really good team speed, and then you throw the quarterback run element in there where you have to account for the quarterback in the run game, which is truly the equalizer. When you're preparing defensively, it'll be a challenge. Our guys have done a pretty good job to this point of doing that defensively. But each Friday night brings kind of a new nuance, so to speak. Clarke has the ability to run outside zone to get the quarterback in the run game. Jet sweep is a big part of what they do. And when those guys get, the ball in their hand, they're electric and they can go get it. So it'll be a big challenge for our outside backers. Obviously, our guys in the secondary fitting in the run game, but also being able to, kind of play at both levels. So definitely a challenge for us.
Maxwell and Lee are a big piece of the Jackson offense, which has embraced the ground game en route to 77 points in their last two games. They're not looking to get away from that anytime soon. On the defensive side, the Panthers are keyed in on the legs of Cameron Lawrence. Back to you, Olivia.
Thanks, Cooper. We're going to send it to commercial, but when Sportsource returns, we'll break down the game and give a few more predictions. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sportsource. I'm Olivia Sayer, and it's time to get into our keys to the game. Tatum, what do you expect to see from Clarke Central?
Clarke Central has been battling injuries all season. As Coach Perno mentioned, senior defensive end Anthony AJ Lennon Jr. is out for the season after undergoing surgery on his right meniscus last week. The Georgia commit was critical to Clarke Central's defensive scheme and leadership. Along with Lennon Jr. through the season, the Gladiators have racked up a multitude of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. However, Perno says this week will be the closest they've had to a full squad. Even if Clarke Central gets stops on defense, its offense has to come up with points early. The Gladiators will be looking to junior wide receiver Legracion Little and senior running back Cy Valente to spark the offense. Valente is averaging 49 yards per game and is a constant part of the Gladiators' offensive attack. Back to you, Olivia.
Thanks, Tatum. What do you think Clarke Central has to do in order to come out on top today?
Sure thing, Olivia. Clarke Central needs to keep Jackson County off the field by winning the turnover game. During their season opener and only win this season against Cedar Shoals, Clarke Central forced 2 turnovers to Cedar Shoals' 0. When talking to me, Coach Perno emphasized the importance of forcing possession of the ball in order to give their defense some rest. Back to you, Olivia.
Thanks, Tatum. Cooper, what about Jackson County?
Thanks, Olivia. Jackson has to stick to their game plan if they want to get past Clarke Central. Mobs spoke about balance on the offensive side and relying on a strong running game. Senior quarterback R.J. Knapp III has to make the most of his arm talent and exploit mismatches in Clarke Central's pieced-together secondary. Getting the ball to downfield threat Landon Jones, who went for 83 yards on 4 catches last week, could be one way. On the other side of the ball, getting to the backfield and creating havoc is paramount for Jackson. They cannot allow Clarke Central's athletes to get in space and make plays out of nothing. Defensive lineman Cade Phillips and outside linebacker Deacon Wiley have to take the right angles to the ball and get off blocks quick if they want to generate pressure. Back to you, Olivia.
For sure, Cooper. Well, Maxwell lists Jackson County as the favorite, but let's see what our analysts think. Tatum, will this be the year Jackson County finally defeats Clarke Central, or will the Gladiators make it 8 in a row?
Despite the fuller squad, I don't think Clarke Central has the offensive identity to overcome a seasoned Jackson County defense, especially with an inconsistent offense led by senior quarterback Cameron Lawrence, who will be facing a lot of pressure from Jackson County's pass rush. I'm taking the Panthers 30-7.
Some excellent points there. What do you think, Cooper?
I think Jackson County has found who they are on the offensive side of the ball in these last 2 games. With Clarke Central having so many two-way players, having 2 strong backs in Maxwell and Lee is key to the Panthers wearing the Gladiators down. I've got Jackson 35-10.
Well, there you have it, a clean sweep predicted by our analysts tonight. Now we'll just have to see if it plays out on the field. And with that, thank you so much for joining us for this week's Game of the Week by Sportsource. A reminder that kickoff will be at 7:30 between Clarke Central and Jackson County at Billy Henderson Stadium. For reporters Tatum Esparza and Cooper Burke, I'm your host, Olivia Sayer. See you next week.